You ever had one of those jobs where you can't do anything right? Is this the third president or acting president of Colombia in like 4 months or whatever it is?
I'm sure.
Interim head coach of the Hornets.
Which is incredible because Colombia, they had all of these accusations of anti-Semitism with their presidents, where they, by the administration, but by their donors and people like Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, who pulled his money, they banned pro-Palestine activism, including Jewish Voices for Peace, in November 2023, calling that Jewish group and other pro-Palestinian groups anti-Semitic. And they cracked down on protests, allowed the NYPD to go in and roughhouse their own students, and they're still being penalized for it by the administration, so they have to crack down even further.
Also, they ignored pleas by Mahmoud Khalil about like his concerns about ICE.
And he's now been in detention for 72 days. I'm so happy that Romesa Ozturk is out, that Madawi is out, the other Columbia student, but he's still in detention, Khalil. It's been since March 9th, and his son has been born, and he hasn't been able to meet him.
If there was a way to short the number of applicants to Columbia in 2025, fall 2025, I would do it. But here is acting President Claire Shipman at the being welcomed to the Columbia College's graduation ceremony.
Claire Shipman.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Good morning, class of 2025. I know that many of you feel Good morning, class of 2025. I know that many of you feel some amount of frustration with me, and I know you feel it with the administration. And I know we have a strong, strong tradition of free speech at this university. And I am always open to feedback, which I am getting right now. The work of your generation will be to shape these interesting times, to define the values.
Free speech. People in the back on their phones.
I waited you out.
The work of your generation will be to define and shape these interesting times, to define the values and the direction of this century.
To be clear, there was a clip in there. There was a cut, so it was later in the speech that people started chanting "Free Mahmoud," and you know. Graduations are so long as they are. Like the idea that they were willing to extend it by screaming at her, it shows the level of commitment.
Oh, absolutely.
And disdain they have for their institution. It really is like in a lot of these universities, not all of them, but some of them, made huge miscalculation in that they could negotiate with the Trump administration or even their own board of directors, because they've lit themselves on fire in two different ways. They both are still subject to attacks from Republicans. They're going to try and roll back their tax-free status on their endowments. Frankly, in some instances, I got no problem with that. But the other is that they've lost the support of the students and future students.
Yep.
There's if your student body has a significant percentage of people who are protesting about an issue, it is more than likely that your applicant pool also feels that way. Right? I mean, it's not a coincidence. Some schools attract more politically minded students than others.
Yep.
That's why NYU appealed to me. Like, what was the guy named Zach from Silicon Valley? The way he said, like, this stuff's only for the marketing materials. It's like, I took digital media activism classes about how to change society from NYU.
Right. And it's amazing to hear her invoke the history of Columbia protest at the university, because it's quite true that the student body there has had a history of protesting, including occupying Hamilton Hall, which became Hinds Hall, in the protests against the genocide, the little girl who was killed by Israel, and her last words are on tape. But there have been previous occupations of the campus that was met also by the administration back in the day, calling the police. In the 1960s, there were protests where Hamilton Hall was occupied and the police were called on them. Into the 70s, police called on protests towards the Vietnam War. And eventually the administration, I think, apologized for some of these incidents. It might have been the South Africa protests too. I'm forgetting the exact circumstance. But I remember reading a student saying that they were happy to use the protest for marketing material. Right. But they exclude, and perhaps, we've moved past this, but they don't bring it forward into the current context. They are repressing speech even possibly more aggressively than they had in the past, as they use the history of protests at the university to sell students on the experience of coming to the school.
Yeah, take out a giant loan to come work for us about how to be an activist. And yeah.
But isn't that almost like liberal commodification of protests?
It's literally that.
Personified. I mean, not personified, but in a nutshell.
That is literally what it is.
And it's for her to stand up there to talk about Columbia's tradition as
people are booing her.
People are booing her, and one of their fellow students has been in prison for it's been over 3 months.
With complicity of the people that put her in the place that she is.
Exactly.
It's been like sorry. It's been a really, I went to Columbia. It's been a very...
I can't hear him. Hold on.
Sorry, I changed it because
Oh. Hello? Can you hear me? I was just saying it's been a very enraging time to be a graduate of Columbia. I went there, and I can't tell you the number of people who I went to school with who have been sending around petitions for people to sign, and petitions saying they'll never give to any of the endowments or anything like that. And to Matt's point, the reason I decided to go to Columbia was in part because of the network, because of the amount of people that you would meet who later on would then be people in positions to help you professionally. And I think that, the university is going to have a major reckoning with this rift between the school and the alumni. And I will say today is very proud and happy day to be a graduate of Columbia. And this clip is actually it's been sent to me now by probably 5 or 6 of my former classmates who are just so ecstatic to see this happen.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is awesome. And I mean, just the news today is underscoring why these protests are as just as anything. Yeah. The United Nations humanitarian chief went on the BBC this morning and said that 14,000 babies could starve to death in the next 48 hours if aid trucks do not reach Gaza.
They've let in, my understanding is, about a half a dozen aid trucks when the number that they probably need is closer to 500 to 600 a day.
And the UN is pleading, saying, we have hundreds of trucks lined outside the border. Israel's just not letting them in. They let like 5 in, as you say, 5 or 6, it's a troll. They're mocking the idea of it.
Dropsite had a clip. It's in Hebrew, but Ben Gavir saying a few PETAs will be let in. It's exactly what we want to see in the videos. The purpose is it allows the world to continue providing us with international protection. We are annihilating everything that remains in the Strip, he declared, simply because it is one big city of terror. No more raids with ins and outs. We are conquering, clearing, and staying until Hamas is destroyed. I mean, they admit this, and yet our media is twiddling its thumbs talking about people's manners, about how they're opposing it.
And part of it, I mean, frankly, the reason why we're talking about Joe Biden as much is because one of the biggest anchors of cable news wrote a book about it. Let's play this clip. I mean, this is my attitude about all this stuff, too.
Jon Stewart.
The idea of reporters holding back news of the day.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Woodward did this too. Like, and it was just gross.
It's gross that Woodward did it, right? With Trump, with his books.
With Trump and with Bush.
And with Bush. But Woodward isn't an anchor on a daily news show. Like, I mean, he's more in the interest of writing books. So I get that more.
He was a reporter. He was writing. I mean, he was a, I don't know, daily reporter, but certainly was putting stories in there on a weekly basis. And they'll hold back important things, to make their book juicy.
I'm just trying to underscore the cynicism of what Tapper is engaging in here, is because he has a nightly news show where he could have been reporting this, or he's on the news basically every single day. But every day, yeah. And he's getting paid very well to do that. He's getting paid millions of dollars, most likely, to supposedly provide us with facts and information, unless he wants to hoard it and commodify it for a book.
Pins and needles. I'm very anxious right now. I'm very nervous, very anticipatory. And it's not about whether Russia and Ukraine will be settled. It's not whether somebody can stop Netanyahu. Somebody, please. It's not whether Taylor's unfriended Blake. I don't know. No, like most people in America, I am most looking forward to reading a book. But when? When?
We're back with breaking news in our politics lead and a brand new excerpt from my upcoming book with Axios' Alex Thompson. It's called Original Sin. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's on Biden's decline. It's called Original Sin. I'm sure you've heard on May 20th. That's Tuesday. Original Sin. That's coming out in 3 weeks. On May 20th. That's just 19 days away. In 1 week and 1 day. Coming out in just a few days. Comes out Tuesday. You will not believe what we found out.
Don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the difference between news and a secret? You won't believe what we found out. No, that's why I'm watching. Breaking news in a week.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he did a good job there. There's another part if we wanted to watch it.
Just another guy said Woodward literally held back Trump confirming COVID was airborne versus the virus in the peak of the pandemic.
Right.
Hey, how much more significant could you get than that?
I mean, it's not necessarily timely. That's one for the history books.
Information in a pandemic.
Come on.
I mean, I have a very low opinion of CNN. It's just plugging his book. Are you?
Yeah. Well,
listen, I don't mind him plugging his book. If the book, and I don't even mind it if it was like, here's a TikTok of what went behind the scenes. But if there was information, there's writing books about eras like that provide like insight into why things happened, et cetera, that are more for like a historical understanding and for a bigger picture and to understand sort of broad strokes. But if there's information in there that could have changed the trajectory of history because it was so sort of like binary that even the casual observer would have changed their behavior, right? Like nobody's going to say like, well, he had an advisor who was, used to work for this senator. And so that there was more interest in doing this trade deal as opposed to doing a different deal. None of that information is going to reach your average viewer. But if like the idea of, he's can't tie his shoes or he can't, chew his own food or something like that, to me seems like you need to report in the moment.
How about this? Dave Weigel pointed this out on Twitter the other day, that in the book, there was apparently a fundraiser where Biden said the same story twice in 3 minutes at a fundraiser. So speaking in September 2023, and a lot of people heard it, right? This is at a Democratic fundraiser. And yet that wasn't reported. That would have been really relevant information ahead of an election that we were told was as serious as the results are showing us right now with what Donald Trump is doing to this country and to the world.
But you know how important it is sometimes to repeat something in this business so that it really gets into people's heads.
I mean, I can't believe we were doing the hiding FDR's condition from the public thing in 2024. But it's not even for national interest. It's for Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson to commodify their book. I mean, yeah.
The New Yorker's Jane Mayer pointed this out on the podcast I Love to Hate, the New Yorker political scene. She was saying a lot of the times when these people write these books, they negotiate these terms that like tie their hands from reporting, or things are embargoed until the book comes out, which, yeah, I guess there is some utility, as you guys are saying, like to get that access to this historical information. But also what you're doing is you're allowing these people to then absolve themselves of having participated in this thing. Sometimes allowing them to be quoted anonymously, and sometimes absolving them publicly and having them now say, like, look at all this bad thing, all this bad stuff that happened. Now I'm on the right side for having admitted it.
The problem is that when you enter into those negotiations, the idea that I'm going to be able to commodify this later, and he's so desperate. Like, I find it hard to believe that that was that tough of a negotiation. Let's put it that way. I mean, because you do have other things. There is value to these people not to piss Jake Tapper off. Mm-hmm. There is value for them not to burn the bridge of a reporter who knows something. So the leverage dynamic, I think, based upon my experience, is overstated when it behooves the person cashing in. Like the lack of leverage. The only way I could have gotten this information that he was barely was not eating solid foods was if I promised to report it in Q2 of 2025. I'm sorry.
But do we know when, like, so for example, in the Tapper book, like, do we know when
he started it?
Well, yeah, like if he's getting a lot of this damning information from people after the election, then, then it's really on the people who were quoted and cited in the book.
I don't know if that's necessarily clear when they began.
He told Megyn Kelly about his actual coverage during the time. I feel a sense of humility about my coverage. It's not that I was asking about his favorite movie or color. We were talking about Putin. We were talking about other issues. But of course, I look back on my coverage with humility. I wish I'd covered the issues of age and mental acuity more. Do I wish that in that 15-minute interview with Biden in October 2022, that was the only subject? Yes, knowing what I know in May 2025.
CNN has a history of allowing their star anchors to have side gigs that are maybe conflicts of interest. Here you go, Russ. Chris Cuomo had to leave CNN because he was on the side giving his brother advice on the sexual harassment allegations against him, and that was considered a conflict of interest because it would inhibit his reporting on his brother, who was the governor, and that seems pretty straightforward, and he was still knowingly engaging in that side gig. This is also something that inhibits Jake Tapper's honest reporting on the Biden administration. If he knew for months and months or however long that this was a real problem, but wasn't revealing that to his audience, that is also a conflict, because you are conflicted between your job as a reporter and an anchor on television, where you're supposed to be giving people the news, and your financial incentive to withhold that information for your own book.
Yep.
I would also say maybe it's funny that Jake says, I was asking him about Russia and stuff, because I think if Biden had different positions on, say, Russia, Ukraine, or maybe Israel, Palestine, Tapper might have not overlooked some of those signs that he did for that entire time.
You think if Bernie said the same exact story at a fundraiser as if he'd be at some fundraiser like this twice?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I mean, in the same way when Trump is saying, like, people are going to have to get by, little girls are going to have to get by with $2 or $3. If Bernie had said that kind of thing, I mean, they would start impeachment hearings yesterday. So, incidentally, for all the talk about Bernie Sanders' health in the 2020 primary, sounding as sharp as ever.
I'll repeat what I said that entire time. Biden's problems were mental. Bernie's clearly weren't.
Yeah.
That noise signals, or sound, I should say, signals the that we have mistakenly called into the phone system, and that we're going to do it one more time. 646-257-3920 is the number. 646-257-3920 is the number. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.